guys, I hope you are doing good. In this video, we'll see a roadmap to become a front-end engineer or a web developer. This is the roadmap I've created from my perspective. It contains my experience and my knowledge. So I'm myself is not from engineering background. I've got into tech through an off-campus interview. It was not easy for me. It was very struggling. So this is the roadmap which I've created, keeping those things in the mind. It's easy said to be done, so it's not easy to follow path, and for the today's generation who are not so focused, they cannot sit at a one place for longer times. So this is what I have created, keeping those things in mind. I assume that you will spend a daily of 4 to 6 hours learning if you are genuinely trying to get into the tech, and this is the roadmap I have created for 90 to 120 days. So in this roadmap, I have two sections. One is for the freshers and another is for the SDE2s who are looking for upgrade themselves. So if you're looking for upgrade SDE2, you can skip to the SDE2 section, and if you're a fresher, then you can continue. So let's get started. So for the freshers, when you're trying to become a front-end engineer, there are three things that you should be good at. First thing is the language that is used for the front-end development, so which is JavaScript. JavaScript is part of the HTML. So HTML is what browser understands, and when browser passes the HTML page, inside the HTML you can write your script, which is the JavaScript, and then JavaScript does all the magic in the browser, where you can do different types of interaction and all other stuff. So that's why you see that the script is injected into HTML file. It cannot be rendered directly. And then the place where this magic happens, so the browser, you should be having a good understanding of how things work in the browser. And lastly, problem solving. So no matter what technology you are choosing, what programming language you are choosing, you should be good at problem solving when if you're trying to get into a development role. That's the basic requirement of getting into tech. So let's move to the first section, where we'll see a roadmap to learn JavaScript. So JavaScript is something which is not easy to understand in by reading things. So it's applicable to all the programming languages, but it's not easy to understand things at once. For me, basically, it took me a long time to understand how actually JavaScript works. So here I have designed a map that you can follow. So basically, I would recommend you to start reading Eloquent JavaScript. You first read the book, so that book is freely available over the net. Here you can see, you can go to eloquentjavascript.net and you can start reading the book. For the first time, you just read the book and you try to understand as many things as possible. Even if you are not understanding what is written in the book, it's perfectly okay, because it's not for everyone. It's not like they will understand everything when they see it once. So you just go through the book, you see what has been written in that, how things are there, how they work, little by little, each piece. When you have once completed reading the book, you will get a understanding of the language, how things work, what are the basic syntaxes and everything. So that's what my first recommendation is. You just read the Eloquent JavaScript for once, ignore everything else. Also, parallelly, so you won't read the book for the whole day, right? So this is a 30-day roadmap. I mean, you will give one, even if you read one chapter daily, you will be able to finish the book within 10 to 12 days. So along with Eloquent JavaScript, what you do is you start free code camp. You do the basics of the JavaScript over there. So you will read some stuffs in the Eloquent JavaScript. You'll do hands-on practice in the freecodecamp.org, and that's how you will start understanding things in the JavaScript environment. Once that is done, let's say you have finished this within 12 days, so start solving the JavaScript 30 problems. So there is a website, JavaScript 30. Let's go to that. Here 30 projects are listed, and that projects are basically built in vanilla JavaScript, HTML and CSS. So once you have read the Eloquent JavaScript for first time, try to build all these 30 steps. So few of them you will understand because you have read the book. Few of them won't you won't understand. It will go above your head, but that's fine. So first piece you have read in the book. Second piece is by implementing these projects, 30 projects. Then you will get somehow better idea of the language. Then come back to the eloquent JavaScript and read it for the second time. When you read it for the second time, you will understand lots of stuff. You will get an idea, oh, that's how it's working, okay, that's why it is done like that. So all those questions of yours will be answered when you read the book second time after implementing the 30 projects. So that's how you should do it. And finally, when you are done with reading the book second time, move to the 5 HTML, CSS and JavaScript projects. Now this is also freely available by Travis Media on his YouTube channel. So it's a 1.5 hour course. You can create the 5 projects and this will get your basics strong. This will help you to understand the front-end ecosystem very well. You will have a better understanding of HTML, CSS. You will understand basic styling, positioning, how to place elements, and then of course how to use JavaScript better. So this is what you should do for the first 30 days of your learning. Make sure you do it. So if you're not consistent, right, if let's say if you're not able to maintain the consistency, you start a challenge, let's say on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and you create a hashtag that has 90 days of learning JavaScript, and you continuously post stuff over there. So whatever you have learned today, try to post it, and that way you will be able to maintain the consistency. Now let's move to the second part of learning. So the next 5 days, once you have done with the JavaScript, next 5 days, I want you to understand how HTML page is rendered in browser. So what happens when you type any URL and that URL loads the HTML page? How does browser reads that HTML page, parses things, how the HTML tags are converted to DOM, how CSS is applied to those DOM elements, how JavaScript is rendered, then how all every other stuff takes place, how animations happens. So for this you have to read the page life cycle in browser, and then the crucial part, which is the critical rendering path, which is basically how HTML get passed in the browser. So in the technical terms we call it critical rendering path. You have to learn these two stuff. To learn this, there is so the page lifecycle you can learn from the developer.chrome.com, and the critical rendering path you can learn from the web.dev. So web.dev is also Google's library for web developers. Here all the documents are present, so you can read stuff through this. Now it is very important for you to understand the critical rendering path, because critical rendering path is the base because of which the new frameworks that are in the market has been derived. So what causes the bottleneck, what issues that the using vanilla JavaScript creates, and how to solve that with using any other framework, that comes from the critical rendering path. So it's very important for you to understand this. So make sure you read it thoroughly. So next 5 days, divide it that for the first 2 days you will read the life cycle. You will watch multiple videos that are freely available on the web. You try to understand how the page life works in the browser, and then the next 3 days you'll spend on solely learning the critical rendering path. Once you are good with the basic JavaScript and your understanding of how page renders in the browser, you can move to the next 30 days assignment, which is learning any of JavaScript framework. Now, many people have very difficulty in deciding which framework to use. I have a simple answer for that. You choose what is most in demand in the market, because you have to get a job. So React.js is the most popular framework, or as they call it, a library, JavaScript library. So I would recommend get started with the React. It has a strong community. Many resources are available around it on the web for free. So you can start learning React.js. If you are interested in any other of the framework, you can learn that too. In the framework, you have to learn 3 things. One is how the framework works. Second is the routing, because routing is very important. Third is the state management. All these frameworks use state management to share data between each components. So once you get started with the any of these frameworks, you will learn that how these frameworks are designed, how they want you to do the development. So when you start doing that, you will understand why we require routing, state management, and SSR. SSR is server side rendering. So there are two ways to render an application. One is client side rendering and another is server side rendering. So client side rendering is the default de facto that you do when you start learning the React.js. But I want you to have an understanding of server side rendering as well, because it is very important if you're trying to become a front engineer or a web developer. Now everything else you can keep aside. You can just focus on the React.js for the next 30 days. Now you don't read anything about this. You don't, get a book and start reading. Reading won't help you to understand the libraries. What you have to do is you have to, from the day one, you have to start implementing projects. So just go to beta.reactjs.org. They have created this website for anyone who wants to get started with the React and start learning. So here you will learn as you do. So there will be a left section where you type something, and then there is a right section where you see what is the output of that code. So that's how I want you to do. Sorry, that's one of the best way to learn anything. You should always implement. Don't read stuff until and unless it is a theoretical. So if you want to understand the mechanism, you should build, break, build, break. That's how you should do it. So for the next 30 days, you can focus on your React.js. And after that, when you are good with the React.js, you already have some basic understanding of how page lifecycle works and the JavaScript. Then with all this knowledge, you can move to the next part, and then you can start building a application or a project in the framework that you have learned. So you can build 1 to 2 quality projects of your choice, whatever you want, and make sure that this is a full-fledged application. You deploy it somewhere, you make it live, and you get it tested with the live users. So once you make your application live, make sure that you share the link with your friends, your families, and you want them to explore the applications. Once the real user explore any application, right, they provide the feedbacks like how the application is it production quality or not, if stuffs are breaking, if the features that you have implemented is working as expected or not. So you get live feedback for that. All you want is you want to share the URL with 10 to 15 users and you want to get their feedbacks. So make sure you do that, you make it live. And after that, you start with the job hunting. So let's say for the first 90 days, you have done all your learning, you have learned React, JavaScript, and you have done your projects. Now for the next 30 days, you keep your next 30 days solo for the job hunting. So you create your resume and then you start applying for the job. Now let's say you have few companies in the mind. Now it's very tough to get into any organization right now in the current scenario because market is very uncertain, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, it is possible. So the one strategy that I had used is first is I created resumes, so multiple resumes. I don't have one format. I've created 2 to 3 formats and I was experimenting with them because it's very hard to get noticed. So, and also if you are inexperienced, you are not sure what type of words you want to add to the resume, you don't have anyone to validate that. So I'll be creating a detailed video around how you can create a resume, but the one thing you can keep in mind is you can create different formats of resume, so 2 to 3 versions, and then you start applying randomly to the organizations through all the job portals. So let's say you started applying for the first 10 to 15 days, and after the 15 days you start to get noticed, you get 1 to 2 calls, so you give interview. Now when you are fresher and when you are applying from off campus, you are not aware about the interview process, what an organization will ask, what type of question they are expecting, everything is very new for you. So you should randomly apply. You should get familiar with the process first. So let's say if you interview for the first 5 companies, even if you reject, you will learn lots of things over there. You will realize how the process is, what type of questions they expect, and how you should answer them. While answering, you will get stuck, you will stammerize, words will be there in your mind but it won't come out. So all those types of stuff will happen, but it is part of the process. So that's why I'm recommending that you should always apply for 10 to 15 companies that's not in your target list. You are randomly applying for learning. Now there is no ethics involved over here. You don't have to worry about what other will think. You just do your stuff. You get familiar with the process, and after that, once you gain certain confidence and you have target companies in your mind, so you collect all the feedbacks that you have till now, you update your resume and then start applying for your target companies. So this way you will have lot better chance to crack any interviews. So that's what you can do. And finally, for the whole 90 to 120 days, you will make sure that you will solve at least one problem daily in JavaScript. Now that problem has to be around the JavaScript environment and a little bit around DSA, because DSA is the core computer science concept. It is utilized everywhere, even in the front end development. So you should be targeting easy to medium questions. You can practice on Code Wars, Lead Code, or bigfrontend.dev. You can learn problems through my blog learnsbucket.com, but you will make sure that you solve at least one problem daily. That way, for the 120 days, so if you have 120 days of path, you will solve 120 problems, and that is a really big set of problems that you have already solved, and you will be familiar with the whole problem and approaches. So next time when a problem, you see a problem or you encounter a problem during the interviews, it will not be a surprise for you. You will always be ready to solve that. So this is what a map is for you for the SDE1s. Let's move to SDE2. So for SDE2s, because SDE2 are, I assume that they are already working as SDE1s, they are not freshers, and also because they are working, they have hands-on experience on writing the production-ready code. They know lots of stuff. They just want to upgrade to the next level. So I've designed this roadmap for 60 to 90 days where they will be spending, let's say, 2 to 4 hours daily, depending upon the day they are practicing on. So on the regular days, 2 hours, and on the weekends, 4 hours. So the first thing you want to improve is your knowledge of core JavaScript. So for the first 15 days, I want you to learn the advanced JavaScript. The best book I have found on the web is Professional JavaScript for Web Developers. So this is the book, Professional JavaScript for Web Developers, 4th edition. I know this is very expensive, it's seen over here, but it is one of the best book to read. It gives you an understanding of the basic of the JavaScript, how garbage collection works. So the garbage collection also happens differently in different browser engine. So in Firefox engine, the garbage collection is a little bit different than the Chrome engine. So this all stuff you will able to read in this JavaScript book. Also it covers all the caveats of the JavaScript. So this is one of the best book I have found, and I have used this for learning when I was preparing for the switch. So that's what I recommend to everyone. So for the first 15 days, you read Professional JavaScript for Web Developers. So before this, if you want to revise, you can always go through the Eloquent JavaScript and then you can start reading this back. Now the second thing is, for SDE2 or SDE3 roles, it is very important that they are aware about how a system is designed. So you have till now only encountered for the SDE1s that how things work in browser, right? But there are many things beyond that. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to read everything from the web.dev. So if you go to the web.dev and explore section, you will see that there are core web vitals. So these are very important metrics that affect your search engine optimization. So search engine rankings. Now, if your product is heavily involved on SEO factor, right? So whatever front-end application you are creating, you want to make sure that they are of the best core web vitals and they provide the best SEO rankings. so that the product ranks very well in the search engine, and if the product is ranking well in the search engine, it is resulting into more revenue, and if there is more revenue, that means that the job you have hired for, you are doing it very well. So that's how things are related. You make sure that you understand all these metrics, fast load time, how you can do that, then network reliability. When a product is created, let's say you are targeting Flipkart and when you want to join a Flipkart, now Flipkart is a website that has been used in the pan India. So a person who is sitting in the metro cities, Mumbai, Bangalore, he has 4G, 5G of speed, he is able to consistently open the application, he won't find any glitch in that. But someone who is in the northeast, in Ladakh, in the remote areas of India, they are on constant network of 2G, 3G or 3G plus. So in that case, they may have a bad experience. So sorry, when you are creating a product, you want to make sure that the product works seamlessly on different networks. It's accessible to everyone. So how can you create a progressive web apps, how your application is safe and secure, extremely important if you're working in a payment domain, how to do web payments. So all these stuffs, it's covered in the web.dev. If you are targeting, so if you are not 100% sure what you want or where, in which domain you want to go to the next, covering this will make you foolproof. So you will have knowledge of everything. No matter where you go, you will understand things better. So this is the one step you should do. You should read the web.dev completely, explore the learn section, and then on working, let's say you have worked as a SDE1 for 2 years, and in that 2 years you have worked on a project that was already built by someone and you are just enhancing them. So you were not involved in any system design, or you are not involved in any decision making, you are not involved in architectural, when architecture was decided, all those things. So but for the SDE2s and SDE3s, it is expected that you are aware about how a system is developed. The best way to do that is by reading how others have done. So this was one of my difficulties when I was switching from service based to product based. So in service based, I was not aware how a system is designed, but in product based, they are expecting that you should be aware about that. So what I started was, I started reading engineering blogs. So there are engineering blogs. I have a GitHub repo of this. I'll add the link to that in the description. You can go through that. You read the prominent front-end applications like Canva, Uber, Facebook's, Airbnb's engineering blog, how, what type of problem they have faced and how they were solved that. So that's all you can learn from the engineering blocks, and that give you a good idea about how things you can tackle, and this will help you in your interview even if you don't use that in your day-to-day life. So that's what you can target. Third is, let's say you have not done any quality projects. So what you want to do is you want to create at least one quality project when you are switching to SDE2 roles, as a showcase of proof that you are able to pull out stuffs. So the best way to do is, you create a project and you create that project in both the framework of your choice, let's say React.js and vanilla JavaScript. This way you will understand what is the difference between the what is the difference in using any framework and using the core language. What difficulties have you faced, where the framework stood better, where the core language was better. So all these trade-offs you will have, and you will have a good understanding of the projects as well as the core language and the framework, and you will be ready with all the answers that you can expect in the interview around that. And second thing, you should be aware about the complete bundling, packaging, deployment, and most important is the test cases. So nowadays there is a trend in the tech that the QA team is being replaced, and the devs or the SMEs themselves are expected to perform the end-to-end testing. So everyone should be able to write all their test cases. So you make a habit by creating this project that for this project you will write your own unit cases, integration cases, and you should be aware about the E2E end-to-end test cases, but you should write only the unit and integration test cases for your application. Make sure the coverage is around 70 to 80% for your application. And finally, the advanced front-end development, which is understanding what is design system, how design system affects a product, and why it is very important for the front-end engineer to understand. Then the architecture and rendering methods, what is the difference between server-side rendering, client-side rendering, then a hybrid approach, then server-side generated application, how you can use the same application in the mobile view, responsiveness, then the architecture, front-end architecture different, like the MVCs and micro front and all those things. You understand the CI/CD strategies. So if you are SDE2 and you have to set up your project, right, you understand the GitHub flow, the GitHub build, the GitHub actions, all those things, how you are able to set up that for any not specific to GitHub, or for any repo or pipeline. And then the testing. And in this complete flow, again, the problem solving is must. So you should target that you are solving one problem daily, medium to hard level, for your whole complete preparation time. And then you can follow the same strategy for applying. So you start, once you feel that you are confident to make a switch, start applying to the random companies, get familiar with the interview process, and once you are in the confidence, then you try to apply to your target companies. So I hope this is a good roadmap. You should adhere to that. And apart from this, the only most important thing after learning this front end stuff is your resume. So you should focus most on that. You should spend at least 1 hour daily. Once you are prepared and you are into the job hunting phase, so you work on your resume. I hope this was of some help to you. Thank you for your time.